You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, everybody. Don't normally like to start off with sad news, but sometimes you have to. It's just the world we live in. And go ahead and put it up. We're all sad here at The Experience to learn the passing of legendary comic book artist Carlos Pacheco. He died today. Is about a month ago. He had announced that he had been diagnosed with the neurodegenerative disease ALS. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but it's, yeah. He was 60 years old. He was born on November 14th of 1961, so his birthday would have been in a few days. But yeah, he worked on The Flash and, JLA, JSA, Superman, Batman, the Superman stuff, Final Crisis, Age of Ultron over at Marvel. The guy was just a phenomenal artist and a really good guy. And we're all very saddened here by this. And we send our condolences to his family, his friends, and his fans who are really going to miss him. And so, all right, we're going to roll the opening and we'll come back and we'll talk some fun stuff, but we'll be right back. Guys, welcome to the Dan Wickline show here on The Experience. It is Wednesday, November 9th. It's New Comic Book Day. There are some really good books in the shops this week. We did a review show last night. One of the ones we got to read is Lord of the Jungle, the new book from Dynamite, with Dan Jurgens writing Tarzan, with Benito Galago as the artist, and covers by like Gary Frank and Dan Panosian, Lee Weeks, Rob De La Torre. And I got to tell you, it's one of the best books I've read in a while. I was really impressed by it because it felt like old school Tarzan. It didn't feel like somebody trying to do a modern take on Tarzan or change it or whatever. If they would have said, oh, we're reprinting some old Tarzan comics, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I can see that, because the art is, the style feels like, I would not be surprised if Benito had gone to the Kubert school, because there is a Kubert feel to it, which works really well for Tarzan. I'm really impressed by the book, and the story is very compelling too. It gets deeper into his origin, yet it seems to be setting up a story much later in his life. But we get the baby, we never, a baby was left in the jungle and raised by apes. But Dan actually takes the time to explain to us how it works, how he fit into the hierarchy of the clan and all of that in a very unique way. I think it was really well done, and just really enjoyed the book, and I can't wait to read more of it. I don't buy a lot of physical comics anymore. I read a lot of digital, but that's one that I may go pick up, or at least pick up the trade when it comes out. So I do recommend that. Another book I picked up, I don't talk enough about comics on the show, and it's a comic type thing. So, but I picked this up and just absolutely love it. This is um, the Mark Silvestri Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, the first issue that came out. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. But this just blew my mind. It's a black label, and normally they've been always a little bit bigger. This is the first time I bought a black label that was this normal size. But besides having just this beautiful interior art, and I mean, it reminds me of how much I miss Mark Silvestri doing comic interiors. I mean, this stuff is just absolutely gorgeous. Um, and look at Batman up here. The look on the face down here. But then you get to the back of the book. You get a good 22-page comic. But then in the back, they reprint some of the same pages just in the original black and white ink. And tell me that's not stunning. You know, I am always going to be a Jim Lee fan first. I am a huge fan of Hush. I own one of the pages from Hush. And to me, Jim Lee is the quintessential Batman artist. Yeah, I know some people say Jim Aparo or Neil Adams. For me, Jim Lee is just a little bit above them. But Silvestri, man, is making a strong entrance here. So I love seeing it. I like this a lot. And then, well, now that I'm thinking about it, if you liked the Batman movie, The Batman, with Robert Pattinson, I picked up this new other black label book on the Riddler. And you've got this cool looking cover. It's a Jim Lee cover. Yep. Like I said, I'm a simp for a Jim Lee art. But there's also Silvestri art. But it's from Paul Dano and Steven Subic. And the interiors look a little bit like Silvestri's Electra Saga. But it's being written by the actor that played the Riddler. You know? And it's a well-written book. So it's not, I mean, we're seeing a few actors suddenly get into doing comics and doing a really good job of it. I mean, this came out good. Patton Oswalt's Minor Threats has been great. David Desmalchian's Count Crawley has been just a blast. And then Keanu Reeves' Berserker book. So you got these actors jumping over recently, and all of them are doing a really good job making some good books that they're not just selling based on their name, which I think is cool. So yeah, I don't talk enough about comics on here. I should talk more about it. And those are just some that I had a chance to pick up. But Lord of the Jungle, that's one I recommend. It's in shops today. You should definitely grab it. Yeah. So, all right, we've got a couple things we're going to talk about today. First of which is the latest episode of Quantum Leap. And then we're going to talk about all good actors or storytellers. You have to have a deep understanding of drama. Also, songwriters are good storytellers. That's a good point. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to, I'm going to forget his name. Hang on a sec. Oh, no, I know it. I had a chance to interview an actor named Michael Rowe. And if you watched Arrow, he was cast as Deadshot. If you watched the Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe, he was Ninjak. He's been in a lot of other things. He's a really good actor. But he was also a drummer in a punk band. And while I was interviewing him with a group of other artists, it was when they were filming the Ninjak thing. I had gone down there and we all got to ask our questions. And I had a chance to ask him, I said, do you believe that your music has helped you as an actor? because of the cadence and the ability to storytell and putting everything together that you learn in music, how it carries over into acting and other aspects of storytelling and vice versa. And he stopped for a minute, gave it a thought, and then came back with some very salient answers, just really agreeing with that idea that, he had never put it together, but really liked that idea that, he was getting into a rhythm and following the beat and stuff when you're acting as well, and that performing is all part of that. So, in which that led to him and I just kind of continuing a conversation with these actors or the writers from other papers or websites, just standing there watching the two of us have a conversation. So I loved that day. That was a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk about. Do we? Yeah, let's talk about Quantum Leap. This show has been growing on me more and more. I had my hesitations in the beginning because of how much it's focused on the support staff as well as the Leaper. And I still kind of wish it was more on the Leaper. I think that the main story may be getting shortchanged a little bit because of time constraints, because they're spending so much time back in the current day. But they're crafting a really good story. And I think if I was coming in fresh, having not watched the original Quantum Leap, none of that would be a problem for me, because it's only by comparison that I have any issues with this show. And it's the comparison of how much we would just focus on the story or on the situation Sam was in, where here we get that with Ben, but we do get the other stuff. And I think we could get more in. I feel the stories are a little bit rushed because of having to share the time. We were talking last night during In Stores this week. There's a book out called Shock Shop. The third issue drops today. And it's Cullen Bunn, who is a fantastic horror writer. And Shock Shop is 2 horror stories in one, with a Elvira type hostess or a host character that sets it up with a page in front of each. So you basically get 10 pages of story for each of these stories. And they don't have that same oomph that Cullen's stories normally have. And we were kind of tossing it back around that that might be because it's only half a book. He doesn't have the real estate to really develop the characters as much as he would if it was just one of the stories per book. So I think Quantum Leap has that same thing, in that this episode, Ben leaps into the body of a young 16-year-old boy who was basically a kleptomaniac and sent off to a camp for troubled teens. And it starts off with him and 3 others escaping from the camp. And we follow why they're there. And it just feels like we could have spent more time with the kids, more time getting to know their backstories, why they were there. I think there's a lot there. They had some good actors, they had good characters, but we didn't get much time with them. So and Ben is supposed to be helping them, and he's not really getting the struggle part or the hit or miss. He's just kind of piecing it together quickly. And it just feels like he needs failure or to go down the wrong path, those kind of things, to increase the drama of the leaps. So I think they're good little character setups, but they don't have the time to really pay off as well as they could. But that said, the show, Ben is really charismatic, and like um, Sam Beckett, you want him to succeed. You want him to make it home. You want him to get back. And um, you feel for the character. So from that point of view, they really did a good job in casting stuff like that. But again, he seems to solve these things a little too easily. And then there's the whole mystery. The fact that he loses his memory going through, just like Sam did, is one thing. But he wasn't supposed to leap. His girlfriend was Addison, her fiance. So there's this big mystery that they're trying to solve. There's an evil leaper. There's Al's daughter, Janice, who popped up at one point in the middle of a leap. So we're what, 8 or 10 episodes in, and there's all this stuff going on that have nothing to do with the individual stories. This whole backstory thing is just continuing on. So like I said, so by comparison, the show is lacking a bit. But on its own, it's surprisingly good. I like the cast a lot. Mason Alexander, is really good as Ian. Ernie Hudson as Magic. Just down the line, it's a really good cast. You care about these characters, and yeah, it just was really solid. So this episode, I thought, was another good one. But they are setting up this whole thing, and we find out a little more like why Sam leaped. Well, we get a hint at it now that it has to do with saving Addison's life. We don't know why, but so yeah, there is the backstory, which I do find interesting, and I want to know what they're going to do. But at the same time, I would like to see more of the main story of each episode, to pan that out a little better. So I know I'm just complaining, but no, I liked it a lot. There's going to be 19 episodes total. I don't think we're at 10. Maybe we're at 8. But it's going to be 19 episodes for the first season. And just, if you haven't caught it yet, you can catch it on like NBC On Demand, or you can catch it on Peacock. Peacock has all of them. So yeah, the idea of 19 episodes, and that's not even a full season. They got a 9 episode back order. Normally they do like a 9 order, then a back 13 is normal for a brand new series. But for some reason they only did a 10 order, and it could be because the show's expensive. But yeah, normally a network is 20. A network series is 22 episodes. So the fact that it's only 19 is interesting, but I'm really curious because how quickly we're moving on the backstory. If we're gonna get answers, or do they have like the next big mystery planned? Because it's gonna. It feels like they're going a certain direction, and that we may get there soon. So at least we have people to find the answers up front. How quickly we'll get those answers, that remains to be seen. But all right, guys, let's take our commercial break, and we will come back and we will talk about the 10th and best episode of Andor so far. So we'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons. To sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
Are you a comic creator? Are you a publisher? Do you make a comic book product? Do you own a retail store? Do you do something I haven't thought of? Who are you and what do you do? Let us know by advertising on The Experience and invite our viewers to patronize your product. Message the EXP on social media or email us the_EXP@yahoo.com for more details.
Hi, this is Joe Eisma. I'm a comic artist and illustrator for many publishers like Image Comics, DC Comics, Archie Comics, and lots more. My most recent release is Star Trek 400. I've got a couple of books coming out in 2023 that announcement should be coming, and you can watch me on The Experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And I want to point out something going on Friday. I'm going to get the list here. So on Friday, we have the original art experience with Nick Barucci. And it's a fun show to watch just because Nick is a pretty funny guy. But they have a big show planned for this Friday with an absolute ton of original art from or pertaining to Black Panther to go along with the release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I just want to give you an idea of some of the books or some of the original art they're going to have. They're going to have the complete issues of Black Panthers 1, 2, and number 4. Those are by John Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson, with writing by Reggie Hudnall. This includes the first appearance of Shuri. They're going to have the original first appearance art of Shuri. The second appearance of Shuri is so Shuri first appeared in issue 2. She appears again in issue 4, and they have the entire issues up for sale. We also meet the first appearance of Black Panther's grandfather, Azuri. That's in issue number 1, and he's facing off against Captain America in the past. We get to meet the previous Black Panther. There's also, to go with Black Panther, Submariner stuff, because Namor makes his debut. And they have the original cover art by legendary artist Gil Kane and Michael Esposito from 1971 from Submariner number 43. They have Marvel Superheroes number 33 original cover art by Jim Starlin and Joe Sinnott. And of course, Starlin went on to do Guardians of the Galaxy and Thanos, and just he pretty much made the cosmic world that Marvel has. And there's even some Spider-Man pages of Spider-Man 42 and 59 from these are the actual CG. It's not the art; it's CGC graded books that are from John Romita Sr.'s private collection. So, you know, his file copies of the books he worked on. What's up, JD?
Oh, I was just going to say that today, right after this, on Comic Collectibles, it is also Wakanda Forever themed, but more on the Namor side. Lots of really beautiful Silver Age Namor appearances, books. They got a Namor statue, and a copy of Fantastic Four number 52, which is the first appearance of Black Panther.
Wow. That last one got me. So that would be awesome to own the first appearance of Black Panther, art by Jack Kirby. Since we're talking Black Panther, probably the prize of my comic collection is the 15-issue run of Black Panther that Jack Kirby came back and did. Now, he only did the first 12 of the 15, I believe. I think Kerry Gamil took over the art after that. But the reason it's the prize or the gem of my collection is I got them at a convention in LA when I was 11. And I got them because Jack Kirby was there. I had gone with a friend of mine. I was 11 years old. It was 1981. We hit the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. The convention was in the basement. And Kirby was signing there. Walter Koenig was there. Carolyn Monroe. I got all their signatures. It was, but I mean, by comparison to comic conventions I go to now, this was tiny. It had like one back row around and then like 3 inset tables that were maybe 4 or 5 tables deep. So it wasn't a big convention at all. And then the guests all had tables along the front row. It was tiny. And I had gone up with a issue of Captain America, and Jack signed it. And he signed it to Daniel from Jack Kirby. And he was just so amazingly nice and friendly that my 11-year-old mind went, I got to talk to him more. And I ran off and borrowed money from a friend of the family that took me there. And I bought all 15 issues of Black Panther. I had to go to like 3 different tables to get them all. And then when I had them, I ran back and Jack was done signing. And I was saddened. I'm like, oh, I just bought these. I wanted them signed. And my friend who would take me, Gil, says, he just went over there. He's going up the escalator. Catch him. And again, I'm 11. The idea of chasing somebody down, yeah, makes perfect sense. So I race up the escalator and I get up there and I find that he's up there talking to somebody, and it looks like it's like an old friend. They're just getting into a conversation. Like, oh, it's been so long. Da, da. And I walked up and she noticed me first and went, Jack. And I'm standing there with these comics. I'm like, would you sign these? Not even a beat. He's like, of course. And we moved over to this little table they had in the lobby. And I took each comic out and Jack signed them. And Jack always signs on the inside front page under the indices. He never signed on the covers. At least not then. I don't know if he did later in life. But in 1981, he was just signing on there because it was a clearer place to sign. And I think he didn't want to mess up the art. But he signed all 15, even though he didn't work on the last 3. But he did create Black Panther, so it counts. And I would hand the bag and board over to his friend, and they were continuing their conversation and catching up. And then she'd put them back. So we had this little assembly line through the 15 books. And like I said, I walked out of that convention with 16 signed Jack Kirby comics and a determination to work in the comic book industry. Because to me, that's where the greatest people in the world were. Those are the people I wanted to work with. So Black Panther 1 through 15, it was very cool. And I still have them. They're packed away right now, but yeah. All right. So that's my Jack Kirby story. All right, let's talk Andor. Episode 10 dropped last night. Thank you, JD. Yeah. 11-year-old Dan was tall, but yeah, he was cute. So, now I had gotten it wrong originally with Andor. I thought we were doing everything in 3-issue arcs, 3-episode arcs. And season 2 is going to be that way. Every 3 episodes is going to be another year. So season 1 is a year. Season 2 is covering 4 years in 3-episode arcs. So that by the time we end season 2 of Andor, we're literally going straight into the opening scene of Rogue One. Now, so I thought we would get a prison break in episode 9, and episode 10, 11, and 12 would be something new altogether. Him getting back involved with the, with the rebellion, getting in touch with Luthen. I don't know. Didn't happen that way. The 3 episodes were kind of him, dealing with the fallout, stepping away from the rebellion. And then this episode, it might be considered part of the next arc because that's when he starts rebelling. That's when he starts really hate. The last 3 episodes are what it made him hate the Empire. Finding out that basically everybody in his life doesn't want to deal with him anymore, and because of the Empire, because what he did to the Empire. Then you've got him being arrested and sent into this prison and trying to get, into it, and then building up to the escape. And this escape. Last week, I equated Andor to the Shawshank Redemption. And that might have been because they were in prison. But it's even closer to that now. It feels that way. I mean, it really does feel like they went, okay, we're going to do Andor series. We're going to take bits of Shawshank and bits of THX 1138 and put them together to make a series. And at least this part of it has been. I'm going to do this in kind of a weird pattern because we have things that happen outside of the prison. But the prison scene in this episode is what's most important, with one scene being close. So I'm gonna put the whole prison stuff off to the side for now. We have the ISB part, and we're talking about what's her name? Dedra Miro. And we found out last episode that they had captured a rebel pilot, and they're going to basically, they interrogated him, found out about an upcoming rebel attack, and they were going to put the guy in his ship dead and let them find him so they don't realize that he had been taken, so that it looked like there was a malfunction on the ship, so that the rebels would still do the raid and they could catch him. Pretty good plan. And we find out that this is starting to happen, and it makes sense. They buy into the idea that, oh no, it was just a ship accident. It's not, no big deal. Well, we also get introduced, well, not introduced, but one of the other ISB agents, and I can't think of his name right now, but he comes up with the idea of when they're like, oh yeah, well, we're just going to ignore that. He's like, no, we should actually send a unit to investigate, because that's what we would do normally if a derelict ship showed up with a dead passenger, a freighter pilot or something. We should send somebody to investigate, so that the rebels don't know we're onto them. And the head of the head guy was, yeah, that's good. Let's make that happen. Yeah, we're all for that. So, and this is, you kind of get the idea that Deidre isn't happy about that. She likes to kind of take all the credit, not credit, but likes to make the decisions. So that's one of the things that pops out there. But the other thing is that this is the first time we've seen the guy really step up and make a name for himself a little bit, because he's been in the other episodes, but he's always been kind of like the mousy guy. Like, are we sure we want to do that? Or, things are good over here. So seeing him step up is kind of interesting. But so that's just a little scene. And you don't realize till later on that that's an important scene, because that guy. And then we get to visit with Mon Mothma and Davos, the criminal kingpin, who shows up to and the banker buddy who's trying to negotiate between them. But he shows up with the idea that he wants something to help her. She's looking for a way to be able to move money more easily, and also to protect herself, because she's moved so much money that there's a good chance the Empire is going to notice. And they're going to wonder where she's putting the money, and it's going to catch her. Well, Davos could move the money. He's got criminal activities. It's kind of like inviting Wilson Fisk over. He was basically the Star Wars equivalent of Kingpin. And of course, he has his price. And his price is, he wants his son to meet Mon Mothma's daughter, with the idea of a potential marriage, because he wants to be part of the family. He wants the status that comes with being connected to the Senate, even if by marriage. He comes in and he talks about how he had been at that her apartment before, when a different senator lived there. And she comments about how, yes, it's a nice apartment, but I'm not allowed to change anything in it, because it came with being part of the Senate. And they go into this dialogue, this back and forth, which is really well written, because it's basically them hinting or dancing around what they're saying. They're not coming out and saying things directly. There's no, okay, I need to move my money. How am I going to do it? Okay, I can help you out here, but this is what I need for my help. It's all dancing around it, bringing up little things. But he brings up the idea that he wants his son to possibly marry her daughter. And she's like, that's not happening. Now, the daughter so far has been not a very pleasant character to her mom. She's definitely a daddy's girl. And I wouldn't have blamed Mon Mothma to go, well, just an introduction? Yeah, I can introduce them. She's not having it at all. Basically coming back and saying, I'm not going to be in your pocket. We can do a business deal or not. And he says, well, that's a lot to think about. I'll let you think it over. And her response is, I'm not thinking about it at all. And as he gets up, he says, that's the first untruthful thing you've said since I've been here. So there's this little classic writing back and forth that where they don't actually say what they're saying. It's all double speak for a little more threatening, a little more serious conversation, which again is really well done. So I don't know how she's gonna get her situation taken care of, because she pretty much blows off Davos, but Davos believes that she's gonna need him, and that she's gonna come back around. So now from there we get again, skipping the prison part, Luthen. Luthen gets contacted by a spy, a rebel spy, through marking something at a fountain, these little codes and stuff. And Luthen goes to meet the guy. And when he gets there, you realize it's the ISB agent who had suggested sending an investigation team. This is Luthen's inside man. And he tells him about them. He tells him about Dedra and her ideas, how she's going after somebody she calls Axis, and all this stuff. And that she's trying to tie it to Aldani. And the guy asked, was that you? And he's like, no, it wasn't. Luthen's like, no, I got invited to be part of it, but I declined. It's like, no, that was you. We know it was him, but he's compartmentalizing information. So in case that guy gets burned, he can't give it away. So now the next thing happens, but he wants this meeting because he wants to dump all this information on Luthen and he wants to get out. Because he's recently had a daughter. He doesn't want this world to die or something having to do with this. He wants to go back to a normal life. He wants to leave the ISB because he went up into the ISB at Luthen's orders. He took a vow to the rebellion. Now he wants to leave, and it's because he's had a child. He has a daughter. He's changing his life thoughts, and Luthen gives a speech that is just phenomenal. It's very dramatic. It's about the things that you sacrifice for rebellion, and you take a vow, and you have to see this speech because you come out of it going, well, damn, I'd sign up for the, I want to help him because obviously there's a lot going on here, and yeah, he's not okay. I'm in, but yeah, okay. It's pretty much what you're going to come out of that from. And by the end of it, the ISB officer didn't get out. Luthen pretty much said, you're going to stay, you're going to continue working for me because I need all the heroes I can get. And that's pretty much the end of the conversation. He's not allowed to quit, which I think is pretty interesting. So, all right, let's take our other break. And when we come back, we will talk about the prison break. We'll be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Who would win, Batman or Superman? It's the age-old debate, except it's so much more complicated than that. Nerd Killer Warfare every week on The Experience is your chance to debate other nerds in the questions we've all been asking for years, except we take those debates and turn them up to 11. Go to bit.ly/EXP casting or scan the QR code to be part of the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are talking Andor, episode 10. Before we get back to it though, I want to point out up in the chat a few lines back, you will see that JD posted the link to the Dan Jurgens interview. Dan Jurgens is currently writing Lord of the Jungle for Dynamite, but he is one of the main architects of the death of Superman. He did that issue. He wrote it, he drew it, and I always love that they had decided, since there was a 4-issue buildup to it, going through all the different comics that were going on at that time, Superman, Action, I think Adventure was also going on, and then Man of Steel, or there was like 4 different books they were doing of Superman. And that's why they came up with 4 different Supermen when he died. But the first part of it, of the 4, every page was 4 panels. And then the second part, every page was 3 panels. The third part, every page was 2 panels. So that final Death of Superman comic is just splash pages. It's to show that fast of a story, that kinetic of a story, and then to have the drama of a dead Superman and him dying in Lois's arm and the torn flag or the torn cape hanging like a flag, and just, yeah, that was a really well done, put together comic. And I think we're at the 30th or 35th anniversary of that, which just freaking blows my mind that it's that long. I think 35th, but man, it's been a long time. And Dan wrote and drew the hell out of that book. And he's also the creator of stuff like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, stuff like that. So Jay says, what a terrific show that was. Love David Booher. Oh, that's right. David Booher is also part of that episode. Then Dan Jurgens was a huge part of both my childhood and adulthood. I've said it before, I love Superman, always have, always will. Very cool, Jay. So yeah, if you haven't had a chance to watch the interview, click, go watch that. Well, not now, because the show's on. And you want to stick around for comic collectibles. But after that, I think before Wednesday Warriors, you should watch the Dan Jurgens interview. And if the David M. Booher's thing on there too, definitely talk to him. He's got a great new book out this week called Specs. And gives that 80s nostalgia vibe without beating you over the top like things like Stranger Things does and a lot of these Wonder Woman 1984. But oh yeah, the 80s were great. No, they weren't. Okay, so let's talk about the prison escape. Now, this series may be starring Diego Luna, and Diego is a big part of this episode. But this episode was Andy Serkis's. He was introduced 2 episodes back as Kino Loy, floor director on level 5. His whole thing was to keep the men in line and count out his days, count out his shifts, and then get out when he's done, go back to his life. But he takes care of his men. He keeps them keeps them going, watches the numbers. He's a leader. He's the leader of men. And then last episode, one of their group dies from a heart attack. Well, they find out from the med guy that there's no sense trying to save him, because at least here he's going to go out quietly instead of being back in prison. And they're like, well, no, his shift's almost, he's almost done. It's only got 40 shifts left. And he's like, you don't get out of here. You just get transferred to another floor with more trumped up charges. And when you get, and that's what happened, was somebody from one floor was supposed to be moved to another and ended up back on his original floor, and everybody saw what was going on. And in doing so, the Empire had to kill everybody on floor 2. Well, that tells the guys on floor 5, we're not getting out of here. They're never going to let us go. They're going to keep us in here working till the day we die. And that is enough of an impetus for Kino to listen to Diego, or to listen to Cassian. He starts telling him, oh, there's this many guards on the floor. He's got the answers that are needed. And they come up with a plan, and they go into it. And part of the plan, it's a simple plan. It really is, because Cassian has discovered a water line inside the wall. You have water plumbing, stuff like that. And he's able to use the tools they use to put the machinery together to break open the water pipe and flood the room. And then when they get they start acting up, and the guards turn on the electrified floor, the water causes a backlash and fries it. So you end up taking away their one weapon. The floor is lava. Now they still have blasters, and a few guys get killed while the number of prisoners outnumber the guards, and they're able to overthrow them. But a few get killed in the meantime. But they start this rebellion, and it starts spreading. They go to other floors, stuff like that. And Kino and Cassian go up to the control room and shut off the power. But they also shut off the hydropower, and that takes like a month to restart, the guy said. So they were making sure the floor doesn't get turned back on. And then Kino makes this impassioned speech to get everybody to rise up and get out. And it's only one way out. And you see him leading these men and causing this prison break to happen and bringing these men their freedom. And he gets them all up to the ramp where the ships come in. And when they get there, they realize there's no ships there. The ships show up, drop off, and leave. Well, and this is a big station out on the water. So they start diving into the water, just like a old Ethel Merman performance, everybody diving, Well, it turns out that Kino can't swim. And he says it to Cassian. And when Cassian turns to try to go back to figure out what to do, the rush of prisoners escaping and just diving out catches him and takes him into the water. And we see the sadness on Kino's face when he realizes he's not getting out. He's going to die right there. That they'll eventually, the guards, all the prisoners will be gone, and the guards will come back and they'll take it out on him. And yeah, now we don't see his final fate, and we don't know. He might have leapt and hoped for the best. Maybe, once down there, somebody would pull him along. I don't know. But yeah, everybody has said that the odds were that Andy Serkis's character was going to die. And yeah, it seemed like it. And he would make a good rebel. And because we don't see him actually die, there's always that chance he might come back. But I think we're supposed to get the impression that he never gets out of there, that he ends up dying at the facility, which is really sad, but ironic for the character. And again, all this stuff just makes me think more and more about Shawshank. And then we end with Cassian on the beach running along with Melshi, the guy he's in Rogue One with. So the two of them escape together, and they're just heading inland. So we don't know how they're going to get off the moon or the island or the planet, but they're out. And we got 2 episodes left. And I have zero idea what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes. Because we still have the ISB looking for him. We still have the rebellion looking to kill Cassian because he knows too much. And his mom is dying, and just what's all going to happen to him in the next 2 episodes. That's pretty amazing. This really is the most adult Star Wars series ever. And it's one of the best. I equate it to Shawshank because Shawshank's one of those that you watch it, it's super intense. It's really dramatic. There's some great acting. And then you're pretty sure you're never going to watch it again because once you've seen it, it's always going to stick with you. It's not, I'll turn on Doctor Strange or Spider-Man or something and just let it run in the background and have fun with it. This isn't that kind of series. I rewatched The Mandalorian. I don't think I'm going to rewatch this one. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, but I don't think this is going to be a rewatch. All right, tomorrow is going to be a little unique. I have a doctor's appointment that I will be coming back from, but until I get back, I probably won't be back at the start time. So Kyle will be here. He's got some stuff he wants to talk about. And then once I get back to the office here, I will join the show. We will have a show tomorrow. It'll just be started by Kyle, and then I will come in and join him, and we'll talk about whatever subject he starts with. So please tune in tomorrow and stick around for Comic Collectibles starting in just a minute. And remember about the big show on Friday. So have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at the experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.